Earlier today, I convened a cabinet meeting to do two things. One, provide an update on the state of negotiations with the United States, and secondly, to discuss the situation in the Middle East. With respect to the first, the trade negotiations with the U.S., as you know, we're seeking the best deal for Canadians. We have not yet reached that deal. Negotiations will continue until we do. Minister LeBlanc and senior officials will remain in Washington in pursuit of that goal. The focus of our meeting was really the Middle East. The level of human suffering in Gaza is intolerable, and it's rapidly deteriorating. Des dizaines de milliers de Palestiniens ont été
Tens of
tués.
thousands of Palestinians have been killed. Thousands more are on the brink of famine. Canada condemns the fact that the Israeli government has let the situation deteriorate in Gaza to this extent. We are a founding member of both the United Nations and of NATO. As such, Canada is always among the first to stand to defend peace and security around the world. It is our duty to ensure that human rights are upheld abroad. We also have a duty to promote peace and safety in Canada and around the world.
Earlier this week, the Minister of Foreign Affairs represented Canada at the UN high-level conference on a two-state solution in New York. In recent days, I've spoken with our allies, including President Macron, Prime Minister Starmer, President von der Leyen. Also had a number of discussions with our ambassador to the United Nations, Bob Ray. International cooperation is essential to securing lasting peace and stability in the Middle East, and Canada will do its best to help lead that effort. Canada has long been committed to a two-state solution, an independent, viable, and sovereign Palestinian state living side by side with the state of Israel in peace and security. For decades, it was hoped that this outcome would be achieved as part of a peace process built around a negotiated settlement between the Israeli government and the Palestinian Authority. Regrettably, this approach is no longer tenable. Prospects for a two-state solution have been steadily and gravely eroded, including by the pervasive threat of Hamas terrorism to Israel and its people, culminating in the heinous attack of October 7th, 2023. The terrorist organization Hamas's long-standing violent rejection of Israel's right to exist and its rejection of a two-state solution. The accelerated settlement building across the West Bank and East Jerusalem, all the while settler violence against Palestinians has soared, has also undermined the process, as have actions such as the E1 settlement plan and this month's vote by the Knesset calling for the annexation of the West Bank, and the ongoing failure of the Israeli government to prevent the rapidly deteriorating humanitarian disaster in Gaza, with impeded access to food and other essential humanitarian supplies. The deepening suffering of civilians leaves no room for delay in coordinated international action to support peace, security, and the dignity of human life. Preserving a two-state solution means standing with all people who choose peace over violence or terrorism. And it means honoring their innate desire for peaceful coexistence of Israeli and Palestinian states as the only roadmap for a secure and prosperous long-term future. For ces raisons,
This is why Canada intends to recognize the State of Palestine at the 80th General Assembly of the United Nations, which will take place in September 2025. We intend to do so because the Palestinian Authority has committed to lead much-needed reform. The Palestinian Authority's president, Mahmoud Abbas, has committed to holding general elections in 2026. He has also committed to not militarizing the state of Palestine. Canada will continue to work hard to support strong governance in Palestine. Canada will contribute to a peaceful and promising future for the people of Palestine. I met with President Abbas to restate these commitments.
For the reasons I cited earlier, Canada intends to recognize the state of Palestine at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September 2025. This intention is predicated on the Palestinian Authority's commitment to much-needed reforms, including commitments by the Palestinian Authority's President Abbas to fundamentally reform its governance, to hold general elections in 2026 in which Hamas can play no part, and to demilitarize the Palestinian state. Canada will increase its efforts in supporting strong democratic governance in Palestine and the contributions of its people to a more peaceful and hopeful future. I spoke today with President Abbas at length to reaffirm his commitments. Canada reiterates that Hamas must immediately release all hostages taken in the horrific terrorist attack of October 7th, that Hamas must disarm, and that Hamas must play no role in the future governance of Palestine. Canada will always steadfastly support Israel's existence as an independent state in the Middle East, living in peace and security. Any path to lasting peace for Israel also requires a viable and stable Palestinian state, and one that recognizes Israel's inalienable right to security and peace. Canada
has already committed over $340 million in order to address the disastrous humanitarian situation in Gaza. Moreover, we have also pledged to offer an additional $30 million in order to meet the needs of Palestinians. We are also pledging an additional $10 million to support the Palestinian Authority, to support them in stabilizing the West Bank and in governance of the West Bank. We are working with our allies to deliver immediate aid to those who so desperately need it. We are working directly with partners such as Jordan in order to deliver assistance to those who need it in the upcoming days. We will intensify our efforts alongside our international partners in order to develop a credible peace plan. This plan will establish governance and security mechanisms for Palestine. The plan will ensure that humanitarian aid is delivered to Gaza as needed.
Canada will be a constructive partner in building a just, meaningful, and lasting peace in the region, and a future that respects the dignity, security, and the aspirations of all Palestinians and Israelis. We say the devastation in the Middle East is deeply personal to many Canadians. Palestinian Canadians are watching as communities across Gaza face destruction and deprivation, and as communities in the West Bank are annexed. The heinous attacks of October 7th traumatized the Jewish people in Israel and here in Canada and around the world. With each day that the remaining hostages, the remains, are not returned, families live in fear and grief. The rising anti-Semitism and words, actions, and violence, including against Jewish communities right here in Canada, is abhorrent. And it's why we're introducing legislation this fall that will make it a criminal offense to intentionally and willfully obstruct access to any place of worship, to schools and community centers. We will also invest in the physical protection of vulnerable communities and places of worship. Basic security is an inalienable right of every human being. We'll defend that right for every Canadian. The two-state solution Canada supports is built on the promise of Israelis and Palestinians living side by side in peace and security.